All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Running with Wolves. Today, we are going to talk about why I think you should actually stop creating valuable content if you want to create sales. Now, there's going to be a lot of you guys that come for me when it comes to this, but something that I will stand very firm in terms of my belief is that educational, valuable content, brand awareness content, any of those things isn't actually going to create sales for you. Now, do I think it has its place within your marketing strategy? Yes, 110%. But it's not actually what's going to push people over the edge to get people to buy from you. And you guys know that I'm all about marketing that actually creates sales. If you want to market just to market and be like, oh my gosh, let's just have fun and like create content, great. But this is just not the place for you. And that's okay. But if you want to market to actually see results from the effort that you're putting into your content, now is going to be a great time for you to get some things figured out in terms of your strategy for what you should and should not be doing. So let's dig into it. So, like I said, this is just something that really gets my goat because I feel like when I hear like Sally the marketing expert or the Instagram expert just like down the street saying, "Oh my gosh, you should buy my marketing guide that talks about like how to create sales and all you have to do is just show up and tell your story and create value." It really gets my goat because what people don't understand is that there's, like I said, so much sales psychology behind actually getting people to buy from your content. I want to ask you guys when like the last time was that you bought something based off of someone providing really valuable content. Like, you know, those influencers, on TikTok where they like show up and they do their morning routine and it's super engaging and they're like very obviously doing like product placement or like very obviously trying to like sponsor, a product. And you're like, I know that this is an ad. And it's kind of a turn off a little bit because you're just like, it's just not it for me, right? It just feels, I would say, very lackluster. But if someone were to say to you, like, hey, this product is actually going to solve a problem that you have or be a solution to like a desire that you have for you because it's meaningful to you. And if they know the problems and the desires that you have and how to weave that into it, it's going to make all the difference in the world because you're going to be like, okay, great. It's actually going to do something for me that I need rather than just showing up and creating like entertaining content essentially. So, like I said, I do think that your story and I do think that value-based content or even entertaining or engaging content has its place within your marketing strategy. However, like I said, it's not what creates sales. So let's just do a recap on the Wolf framework really quick because I'm going to talk to you guys about where maybe it does have its place, but what you should be doing instead. So our Wolf framework is attract, warm, convert. You guys know this. So that first phase is all about creating predictable visibility. It's all about getting as many eyes on your content and on your brand and on your business as possible so that you can get new leads coming into your audience every day that you can actually sell to and get to potentially purchase your product or invest in your service. So with that being said, that in and of itself, what gets people's attention is entertaining and engaging content, is maybe that daily routine, right? If that's what your audience wants to hear from you or to see from you, maybe they're interested in your personal life. It gets their attention. It's important to them. It's exciting, entertaining, engaging. And then we have that warming phase, right? The warming phase is literally all about building trust, separating yourself from your competitors. It's all about building brand recognition and awareness, positioning yourself as an expert and an authority. And that's really all it's about. So it's causing people to know, like, and trust you, your brand, and your business. So that is really going to be the place for valuable content. If you look at my TikTok, which the main purpose of the TikTok platform is to attract and to warm, it's to create visibility and to build trust. The majority of that content on there is value-based content. I'm giving tips and tricks. I'm talking about different things that you can shift in your marketing and in your sales strategy. Some of my most viral videos have been me giving away free information or value. But I also talk about the transformation of working with us, the solution of working with us at the end. And I give people a call to action so they actually decide to work with us rather than just being like, oh, those were interesting tips and tricks. Okay, I'm going to keep scrolling, right? It actually causes them to do something with the information that you've just given them and that activated them. So with that being said, if you want to tell your brand story, in order to build more trust, if you want to tell your brand story in order to differentiate yourself from your competitors, if you want to, provide value on a certain topic in order to, again, build trust with your audience, great, do that. But don't stop there. I think that's the mistake that I see like so many business owners make is that's the only content that they're putting out. Hang on one second, sorry. That's the only content that they're putting out. They're not necessarily continuing after that and actually selling their product or service as a solution. So you're basically getting them to the point where they're like, wow, I just adore this brand. I love everything about this brand and this business. And then you can't actually give them anything to do with that. You're just like ghosting them. So instead of stopping there, instead of just giving them valuable content, instead of just giving them engaging content and causing them to be raving fans, take it a step further and sell your product or your service as a solution. Now, how do we go about doing that? Something that I wanted to walk you guys through is basically our content framework that we use for Instagram, for TikTok, to really get it so that to really get it so that not only do you build that trust, do you build that raving fan base, but you convert them into a sale through just one post or through just one TikTok video. So the framework is basically the same on both platforms, which is really cool. So we'll start with TikTok. The first thing that you want to do in every video is give people an extremely engaging hook, which is really important in order to get people to think about continuing to watch your video, because if you're not having people watch your videos, how can you actually sell to them in a meaningful way, right? The first step to sales is getting attention. So you want to have an engaging hook or an attention-grabbing hook, which is going to be a question or a statement. And it's going to be, again, something that kind of causes them to stop and reflect or to identify with what it is that you're talking about. So a lot of our videos will be like, how many posts did you put up last week on Instagram that actually created sales for you? And they're going to be like, none. And so then we would probably go into talking about how you can have content that actually creates sales for you, blah, 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 right? But it causes them to stop and reflect and identify with that piece of content because they realize, oh shit, that's me. So you start with a really engaging question or statement, which is your hook. Then you dive into the pain points, the desires, the symptoms, and you want to make sure this is really on par for your target audience. So this requires you to know what your problems, desires, and symptoms are of your target audience. With that being said, you want to paint an extremely vivid picture of what the problem or the desire that this target audience is facing in a way that is relatable to them. So going back to that same example, if I were to say, when was the last time that you put up a piece of content on Instagram that actually created sales for you? I could then dig into this experience that they're having, and I could say something along the lines of, I talk with business owners day after day after day who create content. They spend hours in front of the computer brainstorming content ideas, filming videos, writing captions, posting content every single day just to see no sales from it. And at some point, you're ready to throw your phone against the wall, right? That is a problem that they're experiencing. The symptoms of that is the experience, is how they are dealing with that problem, how it's manifesting in their life. And from there, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's totally me. So again, I've continued to hook them in. Then on TikTok, you want to talk about your main point, which is typically where you're going to provide value. So I would say something along the lines of, so let's talk about the 3 key things that you can do to get your content to actually create sales for you rather than just creating an audience of consumers or whatever, right? Then I would give them tips. I would say, make sure you're solution selling, know the buyer types in your audience, pre-handle objections, right? And I'd go into some of that and I'd give them just a little tip of the iceberg so that they can take those tips, those tricks, those value points, and try and go do it on their own, right? It's good, valuable, free content, but we're not going to stop there. We're again going to then go into the transformation that our services create in relation to that topic. So I would then say, if you feel like you are somebody who maybe doesn't know how to do these things, maybe you don't know what the solution to your product or service is, maybe you don't know what the buyer types in your audience are, or you do and you don't know how to sell to them. And that's exactly what we teach our clients how to do. We teach them how to create super effortless sales through their content by knowing how to do X, Y, and Z. Now, transformation is really important to our target audience because it's what the solution of our service is. And so it makes a significant difference in their life because they can see what would actually happen by investing in that service. And last but not least, we give them this call to action, which is essentially telling them what to do with that information. So we're going to say, so if you're somebody who wants XYZ transformation, head to the link in our bio, fill out an application, and let's have a conversation about it, right? We're telling them where to go to take action based off of the information that they were just given. So again, I think it takes it one step further from that warming phase to get to the point where you're actually selling, rather than just saying, hey, here's some really cool information. Okay, bye. And just ghosting them. And then all they have to do is continue scrolling and they forget about you and go to their competitor and actually buy, right? So then that's TikTok. On Instagram, exact same framework. The only key difference is that your main point isn't actually going to be value. It's more so going to be the point you're trying to make about the topic you're talking about. So if I was talking about the same topic of, how many times have you posted on Instagram this week and actually created sales from it? The main point, if I did the same thing describing the pain points, the desires, the symptoms, I would then say the reality is that just because you're consistent in putting up content doesn't mean you're going to create sales. You need to have the right strategy. That's kind of the main point that ties this whole post together. Same thing, talk about the same transformation, give them the same call to action. So that's kind of the content framework that we use to actually create sales through our content, because again, it just takes it that next step further rather than just providing value for your audience and again, ghosting them. And it's actually what causes people to inquire, to go to your website, to purchase your product, or to invest in your service. So if you feel like all you're doing is showing up and creating value-based content, take it that next step further within your content framework, how you're writing your post, but then also within the content pillars that you're going about using. You want to educate on TikTok? Amazing. Incorporate some client results in there. Incorporate some customer reviews. Repost some customer, photos using your product or something, right? Give that social proof. That's a great way to convert people into sales. On Instagram, you can do the same thing. You can objection handle. You can sell as a solution. There's so many content pillars that you can use in that conversion phase to take it the next step further and tip people over from raving fans into paying clients or customers. One other thing that you can also be doing, in addition to using that content framework, is when you differentiate yourself from your competitors, it very much tips people over the edge as well in a meaningful way. So don't just educate, give your opinion on things. So another thing that you can actually do is, in addition to selling as a solution, in addition to tweaking like the way that you write your content, you can also differentiate yourself from your competitors. So instead of just educating, give your opinion on something. So for example, if I said, when was the last time you posted a piece of content on Instagram and it actually created sales for you? There are many other marketing experts who think if you just consistently show up, doesn't matter what you're talking about, you'll see results. I don't think that, and that's a massive differentiator between myself and my competitors. I actually think you need a strategy behind what it is that you're putting out in terms of your content to get people to, tip over the edge, but also do that really quickly, to also buy from you really quickly. That's why I actually think that people think that marketing and sales takes so long in terms of getting people to actually buy. Like, oh, it takes 90 days. No, it doesn't. It just takes 90 days because you don't know what to say in terms of showing up. So don't just educate, give your opinion. Differentiating yourself from your competitors in that way helps people to actually buy from you and moves the needle. So if you are trying to become top dog when it comes to your industry, if you're trying to actually create sales through your content, something you need to focus on is, don't just be an educator, be an authority, be a commentator, stand out in your industry. And the way that you're going to go about doing that is by talking about things, giving your opinion, being an authority, being that voice of reason, I would say, within your industry. And on top of that, selling as a solution so that people actually know what it is that they can do in terms of either working with you or purchasing your product. And keep in mind, this is something I always tell my clients, when you sign up to be a business owner, you automatically become a content creator. We all know that, especially as a small business owner, you have to wear the marketing hat, and content creation is just a big part of that at this point. But you're not an influencer, you're a business owner. So don't create influencer content and think it's going to drive sales for you. Create content that a business owner would create, and then make sure that you're looking at how your audience responds to that, what their problems and desires are, solutions, objections, things like that, like we've already talked about. So if you are somebody who feels like you are genuinely constantly putting out value-based content, and that's just what you've been told to do by Instagram experts, which unfortunately is the case, and you don't necessarily know how to sell your service as a solution or how to kind of bust out of that strategy in general, head over to my TikTok, head over to our Running with Wolves podcast page, leave us a question, and we would love to kind of help you out of that situation, because it's very much possible for you to see sales through your content and see them really quickly. And that's what I want for every single one of you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little quick episode. But if you have any questions, make sure you leave them for us in the comments, and we'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.